Good evening, good evening, good evening, darlings, and the warmest of wibbly wobbly, willy waving, fantastic. Um, dear, oh dear, got a bit carried away there. Good evening, darlings, and a very warm welcome to this. Wednesday night live. My name is Boaty, and I'm going to be with you, fabulous people, for the next 55 minutes or so. We are going to see out Wednesday together. Oh, yes, we are. Holding hands and singing Kumbaya. And we are going to welcome in Thursday. Oh, yeah. And it's going to be wonderful. You and I together, holding hands, skipping forward towards the latter part of the week as we gambol towards the weekend with, quite frankly, gay abandon, just hoping that we've wiped our bottoms properly. How are you, darlings? Oh, it's coming. It's early. There we are. That is a fast-working wine. Now, tonight's wine, darlings, very unusually, I had no alternative tonight but to venture into Lidl. And this wine is from Lidl. Now, normally, of course, being an upper middle class person, I would not be seen dead in Lidl, which is, of course, intended for and frequented by the working classes. However, tonight I had no alternative, so I ventured in there. I was slightly afraid, slightly confused, a tad embarrassed, but I managed to escape in one piece with most of the things that I needed. Although I've got some weird things that are like things that you think you needed, but they've got slightly different names. And they're probably made of, I don't know, unwanted, chopped up German orphans or something. I found myself today, darlings, to be entirely bereft of butter. Now, quite honestly, I'm a Lurpak man. But not tonight. Tonight, I am a Danpak man. And I'm quite interested to see just how dreadful this is. Perhaps it won't be dreadful at all. Perhaps it will be a very reasonable, lower priced alternative. So, feature number one. Let's start as we mean to go on. Feature number one. Do you think that the British class system is still a thing? Do you think that you can change class as you go through your life? What class were you born into? What class do you perceive yourself as now? And do you give a rampaging donkey shit about it? Or is it something that's very important to you? Are you an aspirational type? Have you worked hard to become or to be seen as a higher social class than the one what you were born into? And I know that's grammatically incorrect. And I did that for effect because, of course, I was brought up in the worst kind of, and I don't mean that pejoratively, but for most of my upbringing, I was brought up in poverty on a pretty awful council estate. It didn't start out like that, but of course, my father had the misfortune to be taken poor after a nervous breakdown. And thus I was yanked out of a rather splendid public school, which of course means a fee-paying school. And we moved into a council house in Redditch, and I went to a secondary modern school, which was, and we do look back at our school days with fondness, and we make allowances, and we have rose-tinted spectacles, don't we? Many of us, not me. My school was dreadful, absolutely appalling. The council estate was horrible. I hated every second of it, and I couldn't wait to get away from my parents' house, from the council estate, from the bloody awful school, and from the bloody awful town, quite frankly. And that motivated me to Well, I was going to say it motivated me to work really hard so that I could escape that environment. But that would be lying to you, and I don't want to lie to you, darlings. It motivated me to bluster, bullshit, cheat, bedazzle, do anything I could to change my situation that didn't actually involve rolling my shirt sleeves up and doing a decent day's work. I didn't even maximize my intellectual capacity, darlings, which is not inconsiderable. Did I make use of it? Did I help? I relied on my ability to chat a good game, baffle brains with bullshit, and just basically try and corruptly cheat my way to some sort of top. And I'm very proud of having done exactly that. Now then, let's see who I've got amongst you wonderful friends, family, lovely, lovely, blessed puppets who form this amazing community, which I'm so proud and thankful to be a part of. Oh, yeah. And to demonstrate my gratitude, my thankfulness, and my deep, unmitigated joy, I will now throw this napkin onto my head. There. And I hope that adequately displays the incredible depth of affection that I have for each and every one of you. Oh, yes. God, I'd like to cuddle and tickle you until you wet yourselves and whimper. Whoa! What? Wouldn't I just? Now then, Jimmy Quinn is with us, first cab off the rank, and he says, wait for it, good evening, Boaty and all. So I will say good evening, Jimmy. It's lovely to have you here. You're part of the furniture here now, aren't you, Jimmy? And it wouldn't be the same without you. Don't ever go away. And everybody else is saying hello to you as well, in their minds or possibly out loud, which is going to sound a bit weird if they're on a train in a packed carriage. But that's all right. People will have heard worse things than hi, Jimmy, on a train and packed carriage. Matron is here. Good evening, all. Steak and mushrooms for dinner. Oh, followed by... Oh, okay, right. I won't, Captain. To be honest, I'd completely forgotten about it. If you hadn't have reminded me then, I would have completely forgotten. And now I'm just worried that I'm going to get drunk and tell people about it by accident. So back to Matron, who had steak and mushrooms for dinner. And you'll notice Matron had dinner, not tea, because Matron is an aspirational social climber. That is why she has dinner rather than calling it tea. And that is why she enjoys a really good quality pillow, which she thieves from her usual choice of hotel. And that's a very upper middle class thing to do, that is. Casual theft. Because when you are upper middle class, you think that the usual rules of law and society do not apply to you. They apply to the others, the hoi polloi. And that's Matron all over for you. And that is also why Matron lives in a penthouse on the top story. Matron lives in a penthouse on the top story of a very select tower block in one of the most desirable parts of London. And she does that partly for the view, partly because being on the very top penthouse, she won't offend people with her constant nudity, but also because on some subconscious level, she feels that she's above most of the people around her. And she wants to make that a literal thing. So when she looks around her at the people living their little lives in the little windows dotted around, when Matron presses her ample breasts up against the full-length picture windows to gaze out on the London skyscraper, and she can see that everybody around her is quite literally beneath her. And anybody looking up would recognize that and think, gosh, That lady there who is pressing her capacious breasticles up against that picture length window is very clearly above me, socially, morally, and probably in every other sense going. Unless they looked up her and said, that bird up there with the tits out, I bet she steals pillows from Premier Inns. You never know, do you? You just never know. And that's the beauty of the world that we live in, that every person is an island unto themselves, interconnected with other islands. And every island has its own story. And until we connect with them, then we don't know what that story is. We just like sail past them in the ocean without knowing what's going on in that island. And that's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Because it means that every time you connect with an island or a person, you are going on a voyage of discovery, and you will discover their story and they will discover yours. And I will discover that I've pushed this cork in too hard and now I can't get the bugger out. Oh, there we are. I've done it. A round of applause for me, I think. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Marvellous. Pardon me while I just check my message, which is just coming from Captain Mustard, who says, oh, this is one of your best ones. I wish I could do live streams like this. Very kind of you, Mustard. And who knows, maybe in 10 or 15 years, if you really work at it, maybe one day you will be able to do a live stream like this. I've got absolute faith in you. I've been privileged to be on your live stream journey. I remember when you did your very first live stream copying me, as indeed you've copied me in virtually everything else that I've done. And I remember that your first live stream, I remember being very proud of you because it was so dreadful, really, really awful. I mean, bad beyond words, indescribably, horrifically, terrifyingly awful. And yet you thought it went quite well. And bless you. And you thought, I'm going to do more of these. And now we've reached the amazing situation where you're doing almost as many live streams as I am. And they are no longer completely, terribly, terrifyingly awful. And I'm proud of that too. I mean, I don't want to make your head swell, but honestly, I've watched some of your live streams and I thought, fair play to him. I don't want to give him any credit because we're competitive, but honestly, I've thought this is almost mediocre. And that's an incredible step up in quality. So thank you, Mustard. I appreciate that message. And I genuinely appreciate the support. The M11 is with us and says, oh, hello. Bonsoir au héros. Oh dear. Bonsoir au héros de mes rêves. God. Les plus sales et de mes fantasies, le plus tout Boaty. So, in other words, good evening to the heroes de mes rêves, of my dreams. Sorry. Oh, and Matron has put up her own translation in Northern. Hey up, Bertie, you big rampant stud, you. It doesn't say that, says the M11. Did Captain Mustard translate that for you? And Matron says, of course, he's my go-to for all my translation needs. Better than Google. That reminds me of some rather poignant last words. Pieter von Ustinov, or Peter Ustinov as we know him, his mother's last words were, Tiens, je te reconnais de mes rêves. In other words, gosh, I recognize you from my dreams. which is rather lovely, isn't it? Oh, Barry's here, that guy from SETI Alpha 5, who says, hello all, how are we? And greets me in my own language, which is rather lovely. Oh, and Matron says, P.S. I did Google Translate it, but Google's answer wasn't as funny as mine. I don't know why, says the M11, but I've got the Squeak of the Week theme tune running repeatedly through my head. And Matron says, somewhat sarcastically, not just 12 seconds of it then. I need to rework all of those sound clips. I need to mix them so that they sound complete rather than just ending by falling off a cliff in the middle of something. Oh, and Karen is also here, says Barry. So hello, Barry, and hello, Karen. Oh, dear. I'm going to call you Emma Peel, if that's all right. We're ready to police YouTube like we police the USA. I've been given so many nicknames since I got dragged kicking and screaming into this madness, says the M11. Emmels is one of my faves, says Mustard. And M11, when Mustard thought his hearing was going. It sounds like he's saying M11. Emma Peel or Diana Rigg was one of my dad's pin-ups, says Barry. So, he's quite clearly making it very clear to the M11 there that as far as age and generations go, he's a generation below her. And that's fine. I think we can accept that within the community, can't we? Calling one of our beloved community, one of our co-hosts, officially old. But there we are. I'm sure, M11, that my grandfather would have thought you were a right old hottie as well. Oh, dear. Sophie's here. Hello, everyone. How are we all? And how is Boaty? How's your day gone? My day has been all right, darlings, and I'm looking forward to hearing about all of yours. MZ is good, says the M11. My old YouTube was MZ Bizarre. I can't remember the login details now, though, so those videos are stuck on YouTube forever. Baddy Scrotter is here and says, hi there. Bad Book says, good evening, all. Andrew Buttigieg is here, says, a very good evening, Boaty, and everyone in the chat. Simone is here and says, is he drunk already? But Simone would have said it in her accent, of course, which would have been, hang on, Simone. Simone. Ah, right, Simone. Jesus Christ, is he drunk already? Yeah. Boat is on the hard stuff, says Bad Books. I miss being at Boaty, says Sophie. I miss you too. He's podgering the wine, says Andrew. Oh, he's in a good mood, says Sophie. Right, splendid. I'm fine, says Matron, after a bit of a stressy day. Better now. Russ is here. Dino Dad. Dino Dad. And he says, hello, Boaty and gang. I hear you the mime now, further, says Andrew. Mustard's here. Hello, Gary Glitter fans. Well, this is wonktastic, says Peter P. Oh, dear. Neil is here now, Neil Gibbons, who we, of course, all know and revere as the Gibbon hater. How do you feel about orangutans, Neil? I imagine you don't have quite the same hatred towards them because you've enjoyed going to Clarkson's farm. And he's, of course, arguably the most famous orangutan in that's one of those weird things, isn't it? Weird words that you always got wrong. Now, in my mind, my crazy, mixed up, pickled in alcohol mind, it's orangutan. And it's not, is it? There's no final G. It's orangutan. But that doesn't sound right to me. And the other one I always got, and I still don't accept this, burglar. Apparently, They say, if you believe them, you know, the ones that tell you that that the world isn't flat and that and that David Icke isn't the son of God. Don't trust them. That's what I say. They will tell you that the word burglar doesn't have a U in it, and it's actually burglar. Burglar. Poof. That's what I say to them. Doesn't sound right to me. Burglar, much better. Bit of the old burgling, burglaриzer. Oh, unless you were talking about being a turd burglar. And admittedly, that is one phrase where it's better without the U. Turd burglar wouldn't sound quite the same. And Jethro's jokes, which were quite frequently about turd burgling, wouldn't have been quite as good. I miss Jethro. And funnily enough, feature number 2. Feature number 2, things you only find out after somebody has died, right? It was only after Jethro died that I found out he was called Jethro because his real name is Jeff Rowe. Jeff Rowe, Jethro. Makes sense, doesn't it? Although if I was him, I would have taken the stage name Death Row. But then that's just me. I've got a warped sense of humour. I have a morbid fascination for the concept of execution, which I'm against, by the way, by and large. Now then, where did I get to? Oh, we were saying hello to Neil, weren't we? Little does wonderful cheap whiskey, says Barry Scrotter. You snooty git, says Barry. Nigella, says the M11. Dear. I can't believe he's not using real butter, says Mustard. There's real butter and real butter. I like real butter as much as the next man if it is genuinely real butter, by which I mean French and salted and wonderful, or Welsh and salted and wonderful. But you try getting hold of that. Lidl, says Chaz Brown, the place where you can buy a hammer drill near the biscuits. Well, yeah. Does Nigella have a fish tank in her kitchen, asks Peter P. I only use real butter, says the M11. That fake stuff is one molecule away from being plastic. Now, that's margarine. That's margarine, which is one molecule away from being plastic. The fake stuff, as you call it, is butter mixed with oil. Now, in my book, that's all right. Butter, good. Oil, good. I mean, I wouldn't touch the margarine with, obviously, with a greasy penis. I don't give a toss about class. Couldn't care less, says Simone. I was an aspirational type, says Barry Scrotter, but the real world soon knocked those ideas out of me. Dunpack, Lurpak, if it's spreadable, it's not butter, it's got veg oil and water in it, says Matron. Yeah, well, that's good. Too much butter's bad for you. Bang some oil and water in there, make it better. My friend found an automatic welding helmet for sale in Lidl. God, is that true? Oh, dear. Oh, and Karen says, most of the Brits I met were lovely, apart from some carol riders in Sheffield. Oh, well, there you are, you see. That's Sheffield for you. Nothing plastic about me, Emma, says Andrew. I'm made from all natural ingredients, if you know what I'm saying. Sunak is a wonker, says Andrew. Oh, yeah. Have we talked about that yet? Election, July the 4th, darlings. General election, 6 weeks' time. Parliament is going to be prorogued. We're all going to the polls. Richie Sunak has gone to the country. What do we think? Is it going to be a Labour landslide? Who are we going to vote for? Well, I will tell you straight away. I will be voting Conservative because I do not think that the Labour Party are a safe and sensible choice for government under that leadership at this point in time. But I'm also aware that my vote is almost certainly irrelevant, and we are destined for a Labour government pretty much no matter what, because Sir Keir Starmer is unlikely to slip up because he hasn't got a controversial thought in his head, he hasn't got an idea in his head, and he hasn't got a firm opinion about anything, and he hasn't got a firm plan about anything. I mean, the basis of Starmer's politics are to say is, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this is wrong, and something should be done about it. Right? And he's completely right. He's completely right in what he says. The economy did tank. NHS waiting lists are too long. He identifies all of the problems, but he hasn't got a Scooby-Doo what he's going to do about them. And every idea that he's come up with so far has been so demonstrably idiotic and unworkable that 6 months or 2 months or however long after he says, this is how I'm going to solve it, he says, actually, no, forget that. That won't work. But something should be done about this. And quite honestly, under normal circumstances, darlings, then Sir Keir Starmer would have about the same chance of being elected as screaming Lord Such. However, these are not normal times. The country has revolted, not against Rishi Sunak, who is, in my opinion, a relatively safe pair of hands. The country is revolting against Boris Johnson, and again, which is, fairly understandable. The Partygate scandal, which is fairly understandable. And the country is also, of course, revolting against the shortest lived British Prime Minister in UK history, Liz Truss. I know! Yeah, and all of the damage she managed to do in such a ridiculously short space of time. So unfortunately, Sunak is going to pay the price for his predecessors' perceived wrongdoings, and also the Conservative Party are going to pay the price for being in government at the point in time where we were hit with a once-in-a-century pandemic, where Russia invaded Europe, because let's not forget, Ukraine is part of Europe, and where there was a worldwide recession and cost of living crisis. None of that was the Conservatives' fault, of course, but nonetheless, they will be blamed for it and they will have to pay the price. That's part of the deal in being in government. Anything that happens on your watch is automatically your fault. So it's going to be a very difficult election for the Conservatives, and I'm sure that they're all resigned to the fact that they will lose it, and I'm sure they're all looking forward to 4 or 5 years time hence, if they get that far, when the Labour turns out to be an absolute omnishambles, and people realise actually Rishi Sunak wasn't so bad after all. Although, of course, Sunak will not last beyond the election, or not far beyond it. If and when he loses, then, tradition has it that if you are if you're a leader and you lose a general election, then you're toast. Forget it. And if he happened to win, which, let's face it, not likely, then there would be a vote of no confidence, certainly within 12 months. He'd be lucky to get to 12 months. That's the way it goes, darlings. Look at Boris Johnson. He returned the Conservatives to the biggest majority that they'd had in decades and decades and decades. They had an 80-seat majority in the House in winter of 2019. And how did they repay the man who turned their fortunes around? Excuse me. Obviously, they stabbed him in the back and got rid of him. Yeah, how did that turn out? There you are. There we are. Where did I get to? Ah, yes, somewhere around here. Lidl and Aldi are excellent shops, says Captain Mustard. Hi, Boaty, says Jazz Brown. What's a little wine like? Hope you bought a good little wine. It's not too bad, actually. It's not too bad. Yeah, not too bad. It's a Rioja Blanco. It's a label that I don't recognize. I presume that these discounty places, they buy the lesser known under the radar offerings. It's not too bad at all. It's not dirt cheap. No, it's not dirt cheap. That came in at £5.29. I would rate it as well above any of the Sainsbury's offerings that are available at the same price point normally, but I would not rate it quite as highly as the Sainsbury's Taste of Difference Rioja Blanco, which is the same price or cheaper when there's an offer on. So there we are. In the Sainsbury's petrol station tonight, says Bad Books, I saw an immaculate Aston Martin DB5 in James Bond silver. Registration 1965 DB. A very rare sight in King's Lynn. A rare sight indeed. A rare sight indeed, and a bloody awful car. Right. Sunak couldn't find his own arse with two hands, says Barry. I've seen, and I can't say this because this is just incredibly offensive, and I wouldn't want to be associated with that. But okay. So the man who couldn't find his own arse with two hands, he's okay. I'll assume that you know what you're talking about, and that is true. But fair play to him. For a man who can't find his own arse with two hands, he's done quite well, hasn't he? Did rather well in the city. I mean, I can find my arse with two hands. I will demonstrate. There. And I have had direct debits bounce consecutively every day over the last 3 days because I'm over my overdraft limit at the bank. I haven't got any money to put into the bank. So there's stuff bouncing left, right, and centre, which you know how it goes, is going to attract unpaid item charges and all of that, which are just going to make the situation worse. And I can find my ass with two hands. Rishi Sunak, who apparently can't, is not, I suspect, overdrawn at the bank, given that he is a multi-millionaire, as is his wife, and he has become Prime Minister of his country. So not bad for the word that Barry used that I can't use. It's a word that we used to use when I was a kid, but it's not politically correct now. Actually, it was in use when I was an adult as well. It was in a very famous Rowan Atkinson sketch. But oddly enough, if you listen to the sketch now, that word has been changed for another one. Watching the Stig back box video, says Andrew, and seeing Boaty following Mustard about reminds me of George from that film Of Mice and Men. Yeah, which was, of course, a book by John Steinbeck, wasn't it? Oh, Lenny, that's a tearjerker of a book. You're right, Paul, says Jimmy Quinn. Excellent supermarkets and a great wine and beer selection. He's clearly loved my live stream, Tracy, says the M11. Not sure who that one's aimed at. I'm in hysterics. What are they talking about? What are you talking about, girls? No idea. Not a clue. All right, never mind. Never mind. Emma, your live was very good, says Jimmy Quinn. We mainly shop in Lidl, says Bad Books, far better than Sainsbury's or Tesco's. Why is it? Why is it far better? The prices are the same and you don't get the social shame. That's a genuine question. Those of you who say that Lidl, Aldi are much better than Sainsbury's, why? Genuine question. Lidl do nice paella, says Barry Scrotter. It's going to be a long one tonight, says Andrew. Boaty still hasn't got at the comments yet. Mustard ringing again, says Barry Scrotter. Oh, that was the best bit on Monday night. I've watched that so many times, the clips that Matron did. And, oh, he's full of something, and it's not Momo, says Peter P. A lot of your live streams are excellent, Paul, lies Jimmy Quinn. Mustard's latest one, Scaring the Doggers, was great. What cars do you have now, says the Ken Joji? I don't follow. What cars do I have now? Rover 111, Rover 25 IXL, Rover 45 V6, MG ZT 190 Plus, Rover 623 GSI, MG TF, Freelander 1 HSE facelift. I think that's it, actually. I really enjoyed last night's Mustard Live, says Matron. Did he drink beer and eat rubbish food again? Asked the Ken Joji. Oh dear, controversial. Mustard was on fire last night, says Barry Scrotter. Actually, joking apart, I have heard this from a few people. I've heard from a few people that Mustard Live last night was the best that he's ever done. And because I was mad busy at work, I've not seen a bit of it. But I think I should watch it now. So I will watch that tomorrow while I'm pottering around tidying the kitchen. Doing my laundry and washing the pots. Because it sounds like I really missed something. It was the sound of music on Mustard's Live last night, says the M11. The hills were alive with the sound of mustard. Ugh. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Where do we get to? Ah, here he is, Mr. Stephen Paddy from Port Sunlight in the Whittle, the Leisure Peninsula. Oh, yes. How is our Reverend Jason today? Also, the captain of the ship, Paul, tonight. Can't forget the M11. And also the boss, Mrs. Greenwood. Thank you to all who are part of Jason's lives. What a lovely comment. That's really nice. Oh, do you want a Wales update, darlings? Wales update. There will be a trip to Wales, possibly. I've got to make a phone call tomorrow morning. But there will be a trip to Wales next Monday, possibly. And then there will be a trip to Wales next month. And that's going to be a good one. You'll enjoy that. Right. I need to watch this live because I don't know what you're talking about. I did enjoy it, says Mustard. Oh, and the M11, quite rightly, welcomes Mr. Stephen Paddy with, "Hey, O Lord of the Leisure Peninsula." Indeed. Oh, and Matron welcomes him too. It's orangutan in Swedish, says Peter P. Oh, good. I can't read that one. I can't read that one, Barry or Karen. You're controversial tonight, you pet. Hang on a minute. Isn't butter a milk product? Boaty, says Barry Scratter. Not according to the M11, it's one molecule away from plastic. Margarine is no substitute for Boaty's podgering lube. Rapeseed oil, bad, says Mustard. And Number 11 says, I wouldn't want Boaty's podgering lube spread on my toast. And adds that the field of rapeseed is beautiful when in flower, though. I agree, that beautiful yellow waving thing. I have a little welding mask, says Simone, and my eyeballs still work. Butter isn't bad for you, you uneducated fool, says Captain Mustard. Well, yeah, it is. It just is, unfortunately. It's full of fat, mate. Full of fat. And I know a lot of people are, I don't know, traditionally British or whatever you want to say, and they're okay with being fat, and they enjoy their diet, and that's great. But I'm used to having the finely sculpted and chiseled body of a Greek god, and I don't want to lose that. So I'm careful about what I eat, because a lot of my self-esteem comes from my incredible physique, and I like knowing that when I walk around, men and women alike look at my body and they desire me, or they're jealous, or quite possibly both. And honestly, you have to make sacrifices to have a body like mine, and that's why I very carefully monitor everything that I eat and that I drink, and why I have such a rigorous and unshakable exercise routine. Because, I'm not saying that everybody should be like me. I'm not. Each to their own. It'd be a dull old world if we were all the same. I'm just talking about myself. And for me, then my incredible body is a massive part of what makes me me. And I don't want that to change. And I'm happy to make all of the sacrifices to keep that the way it is. And honestly, I don't know if you realize, some of you, but I'm a man in my mid-40s now. And when you get to this kind of age, it's so easy. It's so easy to let go. Your body doesn't react like it does when it was younger. It's 100 times or 1,000 times harder to maintain the shape that you had when you were younger. And it takes a lot more dedication, and it takes a lot more restraint. It means walking past Greg's. It means not having a slice of the birthday cake at that birthday party. It means saying, no, I'm sorry, I can't come to the pub. I've got to go to the gym for my daily 4-hour workout. And like I say, it's not for everybody, but I'm dedicated to keeping on looking the way I do now. Honestly, abs like a washboard. Absolutely. I amaze myself sometimes. Sometimes when I've unwrapped myself ready for a shower or a bath, I look down at my chiseled abdomen and I think, my God, that is impressive. That is impressive. And then I try not to look a little bit further down, because if I look below my chiseled abdomen, then I see my little tinkle. And quite honestly, that's the one part of my body that has kind of started to let me down at my point in life. And I've made no secret of the fact that I am a man in my early 40s. And when I look down now at my little tinkle, he looks all kind of bewildered and just ever so slightly afraid. Yeah, slightly afraid, but definitely bewildered. And he looks vulnerable. Now, my little tinkle, Carruthers, the intrepid explorer, as I've always called him, he was a proud and fearless chap. He was the sort of chap that gave Britain the empire that once she had, but not now. Not now. He looks vulnerable. He looks like a vulnerable elder adult, and I'm not saying that I'm elderly and vulnerable. I've made no secret of my age. I am a man in my late 30s. But my little tinkle, for whatever reason, oh, honestly, I look down at him and it kind of, oh, it genuinely brings a tear to my eye in the same way as when, do you remember Captain Sir Tom, what's his face, going waddling around the garden on his walker at the age of 124 to raise 64 million billion pounds for whatever he raised it for. Well, I think he basically raised it for his daughter or granddaughter, didn't he? So that she and her husband could spunk it all up the wall. But when you saw him struggling to do that, it would make a tear roll down your cheek. And honestly, if you lot were in my bathroom or my bedroom or outside my neighbour's window or any other time when I get naked and you saw my little tinkle, then you would shed a tear of compassion. And I do slightly worry about the future. And as I get even further into old age, and I'm not a man who is shy of admitting that the age I am. I'm a man in my mid-30s, and I do worry about what further degeneration there's going to be in the tinkle department. But there we are. That's enough talk of that, isn't it? I've done that one. Oh, and I've done that one. I am true blue, says Jimmy Quinn. And Madonna loves you then, Jimmy, says the M11. Bring back Boris. I enjoy comedy, says Ross. I agree with that. All politicians are unts. Discuss, says Barry. Okay. Are all politicians... well, okay, you discuss it. I would say no, not all of them. Not quite all of them, anyway. I will frequently say that in my next life, if I'm blessed to have one, I would like to become a politician. I missed a trick. I'm a good orator. I'm a good speaker. I can fake sincerity really very well indeed. And I would love to be a politician. I would love... Okay, genuinely now, I'm not joking. I wish I'd done it. Because above all, I would love to have made a difference. I would genuinely love to have made a difference for me and, my family, people that I cared about, obviously. And I'd have been good at it. I would have lied and cheated and been disingenuous and bent the rules or broken the rules entirely to my own end and for my own devices. And I think I would have been as good at or better at that than any other politician who has graced Her Majesty's or His Majesty's Houses of Parliament. So I feel that I missed a trick there. Yeah. I mean, it's probably too late for me now, but there you go. And if you doubt my ability to lie and cheat and fake sincerity, then I would urge you all to go back to a live stream from a week or two ago. Look at the comments and look at what the lovely Joe wrote about me. He saw right through me, darlings, and he laid it out there in black and white, unless you were watching in colour, in which case it might have been of a different hue. But there was a man who spotted my politicking abilities. Oh dear. I have to get the Tories out. My vote will be tactical. You see, now I don't know if you're talking about your breasts or if you're genuinely talking about... oh, okay, right. So my vote will be tactical. I have to get the Tories out. So I imagine then, Matron, that means that you're going to vote for reform. The big talk at the moment is that Reform are not capable. I think Reform are polling around 11% at the latest poll. Oh dear, how sad, Neil. Oh dear me. Schadenfreude. Where was I? Oh yeah, Reform are polling about 11% at the moment, or the most recent poll, if I'm correct. And the talk at the moment is that probably in not a single seat are they going to perform well enough to get a majority, but they are going to do well enough to split the. It is indeed, mate. But they are going to be doing well enough to split the Tory vote. So yeah, it's not looking good for the Tories. Mustard for PM, says Andrew. Free sausages for everyone. Yeah, but where's the money going to come from for the free sausages? How's Mustard going to raise that money? Tactical vote here too, says Simone. Neither Labour or Tory will get my vote. Well, if it's a tactical vote, then that's another one for Reform, isn't it? Because a vote for any of the other minor parties wouldn't make enough of a difference for it to be tactical. Don't go north of Hadrian's Wall anytime soon, boats, says Russ. Oh dear. Mustard is the leader of the farty party, says the M11. Sunak doesn't care about paying the price, says Matron. He'll be off out of the UK once he's voted out, taking all of his millions with him. And who can blame him? Who can blame him? You know, however much of a whatever he is, as some people will say, I admire anybody who has become exceedingly rich and climbed the greasy pole and achieved the highest position that is available to them. I don't think you can knock them. Well, I mean, you can knock them, obviously, but, you know, bear in mind that I've always not been the lovely, nice chap that you know now. And part of me is jealous of the people who achieved through skullduggery, the things that I would love to have achieved. You know, I look at Boris Johnson and I can recognize him for what he is, as can all of you. And part of me just wants to say chapeau, which is hats off in French. Hats off to you, mate. You've I mean, you've really done it. You bumbling great clown. You've actually done it. You've become prime minister. You've become rich. You've become, oh God. You know, it's all very well having moral entitlement and being a good chap and all of those things. But when you're sitting in your rented house and you can't afford to pay your bills and you haven't got women dropping at your feet, then it's kind of pointless to knock the Bojos and the Trumps and the Sunaks, because let's face it, they've made it where we haven't. And we can tell ourselves that we're better off because we can claim the moral high ground and whatnot, but sod that. I would much rather be able to pay my bills, go on taxpayer expense holidays, and have affairs with beautiful women, which is the one area where both Boris Johnson and President Trump have let themselves down. That American bird that Bojo was humping, dear God, I mean, I wouldn't do her now, let alone if I was in his position. And Trump and that porn star, I mean, what's her name? Stormy, just out of interest, genuinely out of interest. And not recently, when it first arose in, when was it? 2016, whenever it was. I had to look for a picture of her, And I thought, well, bloody hell, why bother? I mean, his missus, Trump's missus, absolute stunner. And all right, she might be a jolly good porn star. I mean, I've obviously not looked at any of her porn, uh, and she might be jolly good at the old calisthenics on the chaise longue. But she's no bloody looker, is she? I'd much rather have stayed at home, saved myself 200,000 bucks or whatever it is he had to pay to keep her quiet, and that didn't bloody well work, did it? And given the missus one instead. What's the point in having an absolutely stonking looking missus and then going out and poking a semi pig? Don't understand it. Don't understand that. But I've got friends like that. It's just about the acquisition or the and I've never understood that. I've got a mate, I won't tell you his name. He's got the most incredible missus. She's lovely, she's sweet tempered, she's funny, and she is, in terms of looks, she is to die for. And he'll go out on the piss and he will poke anything that will let him. Anything. Absolute heaving munters. And I don't understand that. I don't understand that. You've got steak at home and you go out and, I don't know, buy a rank hamburger from somewhere that's got a 0 rated food hygiene certificate. Madness. Absolute madness. You guys don't seem to have much of a variety of political parties over there in the UK, says Jimmy F500. But of course, our lot are giving are giving BJs to the EU. Yeah. Russia and Ukraine have their own issues, not something to be involved from a side. Well, I think it kind of is. No man is no man is an island entitled of itself. Any man's death diminishes me, for I'm involved in mankind. Um, you know, I don't think you can just turn your head and look the other way when bad things are happening. David Cameron, here we go. Here we go. This is Barry and Karen. Never short of an opinion. Strap in. David Cameron is a wet-lipped buffoon who looks like he should be playing a rusty trombone in a Lurpak advert. Oh dear. But again, he's done rather well for himself, hasn't he? Brexit happened. Yeah, unfortunately it did. That's a once in a generation mistake, isn't it? I don't want to be Prime Minister, says Captain Mustard. How would I find time to edit videos? Well, I would imagine it'd be quite easy. Do it during PMQs. Gosh. Can you imagine? I'm loving this idea now. I've got the old Skull Cinema going. Can you imagine if Mustard was Prime Minister and he carried on with his YouTube channel? Carried on making his videos in his own way. Oh God, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? Nigel parked up outside 10 Downing Street. Mustard hosting international world leaders at 10 Downing Street parties, doing a live stream saying, hello, loves. I've got President of the United States around tonight, so I'm going to make a lovely curry. I'm going to make it from scratch, and I've not got much in the fridge because wife has not been out shopping. Wife, you've not been out shopping, have you? No, I haven't. No, that's right, wife, I haven't been out shopping. So I'm going to make curry with just whatever I've got here. I'd love to see that. I would love to see that. I tell you what, it'd be brilliant. Imagine Mustard in Parliament, Mustard in PMQs. I mean, I ask Mustard questions all the time, and he's a master at evading them. I ask him horribly inappropriate questions, and he wriggles out of them beautifully every time. He'd be brilliant in Parliament. Prime Minister, can you tell him? Maybe that's what we need. Maybe it's about time we had a Prime Minister with a beard and long hair. I can't read that out. Oh, God, I can't read that out. And oh, here we go. And Barry Stroke Karen is moving on to Keir Starmer now. And Keir Starmer, he looks like the sort of person who shouts out sorry when he's banging his wife. Yes, he does. He totally does. He does. He's the sort of chap to whom foreplay would be an apology. Yeah, sorry about this. Yeah. Oh dear. Oh God. I'm an American, says Barry. I'm protected by the First Amendment, and so is my hubby. Oh, sorry, that was Karen. Tesco is more expensive than Lidl, says Simone. Wales will be fun on Bank Holiday Monday, says Brad Books. Yeah, I know. But I'm going on a very specific mission. Actually, might be worth avoiding, and it might be worth putting off until next Monday. I've just remembered that I was thinking I'm going to one place. Shouldn't matter, but I am remembering now that when I went to Wales with Chinese Madam on the same Bank Holiday Monday, the A55 was right backed up, and I will have to go on the A55 as far as the Prestatin turn off or the real turn off. So it might well be worth postponing it for a week, actually. Oh dear. Boaty, says M11, you need to invent a dual-use podgering lube that doubles up as a buttery spread and is good for polishing headlights, adds P2P. Oh, and it's Momo flavoured. Oh, well, that shouldn't be difficult. Boaty's lying through his back teeth. True blue Tory. Absolutely. It cost me a fortune to get a body like mine, says Jimmy Quinn. God, look at the time, darling. It's time to start saying good night. I've got no idea how far into the comments I am. It's not, says Captain Mustard. Fat isn't bad for you. And the M11 agrees. I agree with Mustard. It's only consuming fat that's bad for you. Right, yeah. So, yeah, have as much butter as you like in your fridge. Just don't eat it. I've been fat all my life, says Matron. I don't have the worry of letting go because there's literally nowhere else for me to let it go to. And Peter P says, Matron, you are beautiful. Boaty's little tinkle is his compass, says Bad Books. Captain Tom. I'm the same age as Boaty, says Matron, and never feel old until I hear him talking about how old and crusty and near death he is. Oh, Michelle Lemon is here, evening Lemon, she says. Sophie's just got into bed. She's got her graduation day tomorrow. Candidate training. Well done, Soph. God, a journey into Boaty's subconscious, says Barry. Has anyone watched the series Ghosts? Asks Andrew, UK version. Who would Boaty be in the show? I've got no idea what it is. It's not too late to get into politics, says Captain Mustard. You're only 31. Good point. He told me he was 23, says the M11. Boaty, from the bottom of my heart, says Baddy Scrotter. You would have been an outstanding politician. Yeah, I would have out-corrupted them. I would have out-shagged them. I would have out-lied them. I would have out-cheated them. I would have out-Borised Boris. God, if I was Prime Minister, Claudia Winkleman wouldn't say no. Boaty, the New Statesman. Yes, that's exactly who I would have been. Oh, what was his name? Alan Bastard, wasn't it? So Boaty is jealous of politicians. I am. Nice to hear D. Ream, says Bad Book. Things can only get better, blasting out as he got soaked announcing his election. It was, of course, Blair's election to him back in 97. It was. And that was a masterstroke. Isn't Trump's missus an ex-porn star, asked Bad Books? Oh, I don't know. She's a good-looking one. Trump's missus is not much chop in my book, says Andrew. If Mustard was Prime Minister, Larry the Cat would be his deputy. Oh, God, yeah, that would be true, wouldn't it? PMQs, Mustard in a bright yellow suit and an I Love Boaty t-shirt. Think about it, Boaty, says Andrew. Mustard as PM, he could get you a plum job in Downing Street. Oh, yeah. Could I be Foreign Secretary? I'd like to be Foreign Secretary. I could start wars and go on nice holidays and stuff. If Mustard was PM, he would reform the Rover Group. Oh, God. Well, that would toll his end, wouldn't it? Barry would have been a scarecrow politician, outstanding in his field. And on that note, darling, I have caught up with the comments and I'm going to leave you because I am quite desirous of having some supper. I'm still trying to catch up on sleep after the normal mad weekend and then the really mad Monday. I had a good old line this morning. I didn't get out of bed until nearly 11 o'clock. My kitchen is still a bit chaotic, not as bad as it was last night. I've got loads of stuff I need to be getting on with. I've got to go and buy a van tomorrow, or I've got to go and try and buy a van. Oh, God almighty. A 5-seater crew van in decent nick for less than $3,500. Yeah, right, I'll do that. Bloody hell. God. So, yeah, I'm going to love you and I am going to leave you. And, of course, tomorrow night, Mad Thursday, Thursday Night Live, anything goes. Rather looking forward to that one. To fill out food news. Oh, today, as people in the Facebook group know, I had a dirty old fry-up because it was all that was left in the fridge. I had sausage, chipolatas, bacon, fried egg, baked beans, sauteed potatoes. It was rather fabulous. Tonight, I have got, tonight I'm making my homemade fakeaway Chinese chicken curry, just like you get from your local takeaway or restaurant, except a load better. And tomorrow is actually going to be more Chinese, darlings. Tomorrow I'm going to be making chicken chow mein. I've bought I have noodles, I have bean sprouts, I have onion, I have spring onion, I have light soy, dark soy. I've got a little thimbleful of oyster sauce left, although the recipe I'm going to do tomorrow doesn't say oyster sauce. I'm going to add in some of my own bits to spice it up a bit. So there's going to be some chili in there in some form or other. and I'm quite looking forward to doing that. And car news. Tonight I went to work in Boo the Land Rover, and I loved it. And my heart is full of ideas for Land Rover lunches now, because every time I drive Boo, I forget just how much I love owning a Land Rover. In the fullness of time, I'd love to have a Discovery and a Range Rover as well, but I love Boo. I love being in it tonight. And Land Rover lunches ahoy. So let's just have a quick look at the comments. And excellent. Can you please film yourself making the Chinese chicken curry tonight? Asked Sherry. Oh, probably not, darling. Honestly, I'm too tired to do a commentary, and the kitchen is too much of a mess. But I will put it on the list to do in the next few days, if you would like to see it. I'm not having Vesta chow mein, Jimmy Quinn. I'm making it from scratch. I've got all of the bits and pieces, and I've got a new recipe. I talked about this the other night. I've got a new chow mein recipe, which taught me things that I didn't previously know about how to really make it authentic. So I'm jolly well looking forward to trying that. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really am very grateful. Hello and goodbye, John Stoodley, you lovely man, you. So have yourselves a safe and peaceful night. Have a great day tomorrow, the best day that you possibly can. Take joy from it wherever and whenever you can. Take care of yourself, take care of those you love and who love you. And please join me again tomorrow night, same time, same place, 11 o'clock, Thursday Night Live, Mad Thursday, anything goes. Until then, much love from me, Pachu, and indeed, a forthcoming general election. Bosh. Vote Conservative.